Chamber music is conversations between a small group of people. SummerFest La Jolla is 3 weeks of extensive and expansive chamber music. It's a chamber music festival that has ties internationally and nationally. We bring people from all over the world together to our community here in San Diego and La Jolla.
The difference between maybe a festival like this and going to another great concert is that that would be analogous to going to a great restaurant and having a great meal put out in front of you. But what you can do here at SummerFest is not only you can eat the great meal, which is the concert, but you can go back into the kitchen and you can taste all the sauces, you can watch them being made, you can taste each individual ingredient, and perhaps even we go deeper, like something like our explorations programs. Maybe you even get to go out with the chef to the market and smell the fish and feel the tomatoes and whatever, because then, you know, you're just going behind the scenes in the festival. And because we have the time and the duration and our almost captive audience, we can bring them back into our kitchen to see how all of these things are made and where they come from.
Chamber music is at its core and always will be, but David and Wuhan feel strongly that we want to produce a festival that deals with the whole experience and lots of different experiences that will enhance and enrich the concert experience. So we have lecture series and workshop master classes and many different components to the festival to provide ways for people to interact, and that's a big part of SummerFest too, is providing personal experiences, very meaningful and relevant experiences for audience and performers and community members to interact.
If one can understand in a little deeper level, then they can appreciate a little more. It's a bit like if you're talking about cooking, that you can taste the individual ingredients, and then when the final product come out, you can understand how the magic is started. It's a bit like if you go watch a figure skating, for instance, that if you know how difficult that one can accomplish that level of accomplishment, you appreciate a lot more. So this is something we are trying to create for our audience or for our participants. Will have much in depth of understanding how the music is created on stage. So eventually, I think if they can immerse themselves in there more, and the enjoyment and the reward will be much higher.
We don't necessarily have an educational program or an educational component that's separate and over here, and we write grants for that, and it's something that has, like I said, that's separate. It's mixed within. So everything that David and Wuhan do and program seems to me that they're very interested in thinking about the educational component. They want to enrich the artists. They want the artists to learn. They want the audiences to learn. They want to set up the, you know, like I said, everything that SummerFest is about learning and discovery.
Education implies that the teachers know the answers and that there are students who don't, and that the job is to teach them the answers. We don't know the answers to why music is so incredible, why it stirs such unbelievable feeling and emotion and mystery and magic in a listener. And I think what we're all in here is a process of discovery. Artists, participants, students, public alike. And what we are able to do here at SummerFest, because we have all of these different programs and elements, is to ask incredible questions and to take the time to explore them together in different formats, in different environments, with brilliant people like Dr. DiMaggio, who came in and was really looking inside the brain, trying to find answers to why do we respond to a G7 chord? Like, why does it give us this feeling? We're all looking for answers, and it's not about finding answers, it's about the process of discovery, and that's what is so exciting personally to me about SummerFest.
The most important thing in music is communicating with my audience, is to bring an idea to come in and see if I can either provoke the emotional feeling or intellectual enjoyment, or whatever other way people will search for themselves. And I try to maximize that component into our whole festival, that we will discuss in our Encounter series, bring in brilliant speakers and find out what's in their mind and how do they solve these problems. Do they have any suggestion for our participants, or as musicians or as audiences, whatever? How can we make our life a little better? How can we spread this message a little further? And how can we bring art into people's life and make sure people have a higher quality of life? And that sort of spreads through the whole thing. Like, for instance, in our workshop in the morning,
as far as I know, our workshop has a unique format, and it's tailored not only to the needs of the students, but it's tailored to the needs and the ability of our visiting artists here to both teach and play and have those two schedules be harmonious and not too taxing. The result is, though, it's very nice, the result is many, many, many coachings for these youngsters here. They're not youngsters, they're young adults, but they have so much opportunity to learn from so many different wonderful artists. I do find this to be a unique experience. The faculty that we have here, if you want to call it a faculty, is unrivaled by any conservatory in the world. So the opportunity for these people to learn from so many in such a short time, I think, is really unparalleled.
The language, you're putting the accent on the wrong syllable. And if you play dee-dum, because you feel that dee-ram, dum is on one, therefore you should go to one. But I don't think it's the case.
when we create the master classes series, the workshop series, immediately we thought of our public right away. How fantastically, if my public can understand what these kids are trying to achieve, and how can we make the magic? Where does the magic coming from? It's not something you can just talk about. A lot of time you go into different area in terms of higher imagination, or sometimes it's just a very basic technical solving problem. Vibrate your second finger a little harder to create the feeling of the anxiety or feeling of a different color. These are the things that we discuss as a professional musician, and that if my audience understand it, it's become a different level of experience for them. And these public situation, I think it's just very unusual.
It's just so exciting. You're playing for very strong personalities, and you know, with an audience. So you know, everybody is. Everybody's given 110%, and not just us, but the coaches. They were very involved. They were very supportive. You know, most of the artists come in. They have a few concerts, usually 2 or 3 that they play, and then they're off to the next place. So to get their time for even one morning is really valuable, and I think we all appreciated that a lot, because they didn't have to do it.
But that means, and he puts a forte on it, which indicates some kind of an expression or a stress or an accent or something.
I think I learn more than they do. I mean, to see playing at that level, you always walk away with so much. And I think one of the things that we all, what I've talked to a lot of the other artists about, is we learn a lot about the kind of energy that they have towards music that I'm sure we all had at some point. Not to say that we don't have it now, but you know, that fresh, young energy that is fabulous. I mean, at the concert that they gave here, that was, you know, just to see them walk on stage, want to play so beautifully, and just get so excited at the end result is fabulous. I think one always takes that, like, keeps us young.
It's like you're watching a flower growing, or you're having a pet project, and sometimes, and you see this thing just blossom.
One great thing about the workshops is that the young musicians in the workshops are the musicians who play the family concerts. Now, this is a very important thing, because the family concerts are about teaching the kids in the audience through comedy and education and all of the different ways you can tap into their imaginations. But it also is a great opportunity for the young musicians on stage to experiment with playing, to try new ideas in performance, but also they're great role models. They are not old enough to be the parents of the kids. They are old enough to be their older brothers and sisters. That means that when the kids look on stage, they see one really old guy, which is me, and then they see all these other young musicians who are 20 or 28, but I think they were all under 30. And that means that the kids can look at them and they see these fresh faces, and they can react to that as, I can do this, or maybe I can grow up to do this, or it's not so distant. You don't have to be a grown-up or an adult. You can be a young person, and that's a very exciting thing.
I was trying to put my baby daughter to sleep, and it worked pretty well. I was carrying her across the room, and it was dark. Her room, the lights were off. And just as I put her down, I stepped on a toy. And the toy made me go like this. And this is great, because it did this. It did this. I didn't drop her, no. But this is a toy that plays Für Elise. So I went like this, and it went like this. And I'm standing there. And this really happened. Then it went. Then I put her down.
We have a perfect opportunity to use these wonderful workshop musicians in a way that's good for everyone, especially for them, because they walked out of those family concerts, I think, with a new idea of how to relate to a young audience, and I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to bring that into their performances and coachings and their teaching wherever they go. For example, in one of the family concerts, as Igor Stravinsky, I hooked them up as machine parts, and each of them pretended to be a part of a machine, a gear, a cog in a wheel. In a big music box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
It stopped. You know what? I'm going to see if I can get it to go again. It's stuck.
Let's play the opening. This is not a mechanical toy, but it's somebody who's feeling sick from eating something. It should sound quite different. Then you stop and you take a little bromo or something and you feel better.
The main lesson of the family concerts is that music is part of the fabric of everyday life for everyone. It may not seem like that at first, but it's a very simple thing to understand. And then suddenly you realize that music is not about classical music, I should say, is not something complex and distant and removed. It's very direct, it's visceral, and it's real, and we all know what it feels like.
At this time, I guess, at the turn of the millennium, there are so many issues facing music and art and society. We have these tremendous changes in society coming with things like the internet and what have you, and there are so many issues that relate to even the survival of the arts and music as we know them, that it seemed natural to us to create a forum here at SummerFest where these issues could be discussed, because we all know that if we don't all stay involved in solving these problems, that they may get the better of us, and that would be very tragic. So we created the lunchtime encounters, which run every weekday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And we have discussions in there. Usually it's a panel of several, maybe musicians, a moderator, and usually some visiting journalists or personalities or experts in one field or another, and we discuss our topics that can range from education to funding of the arts to anything related to music which is interesting and vital.
It's exactly because the trouble with real classical music is it's emotionally intense, and that's kind of scary. You might feel something in your gut when you're hearing it, and you think, but this is only 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm not sure I can handle this.
A lot of things that are happening in the classical music world, there's no way for people to find out about them. So if we talk about them here, if we broadcast these things, if we bring these issues up to the public, at least here in La Jolla, in San Diego area, we can make our public aware of all of these things that are going on. Some of them are very wonderful, exciting, and others are, potentially disastrous and need our help.
I think there are 2 levels of goals. One is the goal of classical music to survive. And I think this will always somehow happen. I had an interview with Jolla the other day, and he said this discussion about classical music dying out has been around since he was 15 years old. And it somehow always survives because they succeed in getting 2% of the people, and that's all they need. He said we successfully increased the audience from 1% to 2%, and that's great, and maybe we have even arrived at 3%. It's the same thing, again, targeted advertising. The people, there are fewer of them, but they are relatively affluent, and it's the same thing that the Metropolitan Opera does. That's what everybody does. If that's good enough, I'm not worried about surviving on classical music.
I like to put people together, and I like to ask them, just sort of probing their thinking and ask them what's fresh on the market or what's important in your mind. How can we change our life a little to make it a little better, sometimes through music, sometimes through art, and sometimes through discussion.
Well, that brings us to the problem of being born in the 20th century.
Is that a problem for you, or?
I don't need this. Okay. The problem and the privilege is that we have not only to assimilate as best we can all the centuries production, but we have to absorb it, and then somehow we have to turn our backs to it, and both composers and painters face the blank page or canvas.
SummerFest is really proud and very excited about the collaboration with the University Art Gallery at UCSD. It was such an opportunity to expand our already existing visual artist in residence program. But this time, through the collaboration, we're able to mount a full exhibition of our visual artists in residence paintings in the University Art Gallery throughout the festival. And then also we were able to mount a new series called Evening Explorations, where we talk about the relationships between music and, this year it was music and art, music and literature, and music and science. For SummerFest audiences, it was a way to come up and maybe be exposed to some art and meet some friends at the university campus. And for the university audiences, we found that they also traveled down to the concert hall. And both organizations, I think, feel that it's such a success and that we both enriched both of our audiences by this collaboration, and we hope very much that it will continue.
Well, the quick version of this is you get a big canvas, and I begin, we talked about what do you need to know to start a painting and what do you need to not know. How much can you build up consciously in terms of a scaffold before you take that leap into the unknown aspect? So in my case, I begin by setting certain proportions, and you can see it in the raised, these sort of raised marks here. I put down proportions based on the golden section.
Are they actually based on the golden section?
All based on the golden section. For example,
excellent.
In the encounters, we have these subjects that we feel compelled to speak about education and the future and issues, and that's very stimulating and exciting and sometimes even controversial. The explorations, however, is a time, of course, they're in the evening. They're not in the middle of a bustling day, and they're a time of where we all have the luxury to explore things which are just possibly beyond our imagination. And these things are such fun because they're very, I use the word luxury because I find I rarely have that kind of time for myself to let my mind wander off into new worlds. And Bruce Adolph, who hosted this year's explorations and who I'm hoping will continue to host them, has got such a fertile mind and is so excited about, once again, the mysteries of art and music, that we've just made this chance for people to come and really lose themselves into another time and place.
You know, you can write this. I wouldn't, though. It's been done. But the thing is, somebody can do this, and you're sitting in the audience and thinking, oh no. But that's what it says.
Right.
It doesn't say that.
Right.
But if somebody doesn't know what you mean, you're in trouble.
Oh, I can only imagine the horror if I had to rely on a recipe of a painting to have someone else execute it.
That's right.
But no, a little over there. No, a little bit over there.
But you know, that used to be... A number of people from the university have said they have ideas to how to continue the explorations. And there's a linguist who has expressed some interest, a mathematician who expressed some interest. So I think we can have a series that goes on for a long time where we explore the creative aspects of the mind, music and painting, music and literature, music and all sorts of other sciences. But music and math, for example, could be endless in itself. We all know that. And in fact, music and the brain, we just basically hit some topics. So this is a very exciting beginning, which I wouldn't be surprised if it gets national and international attention eventually, because we are inviting people who have reputations internationally to talk in an informal setting about the things that they not only know about, but also things they love and don't know about. And that's very exciting.
There's a kind of ecology that works here at the festival that feeds between students, audience, encounters, participants, performers, donors, hosts of our artists. As you know, our artists are housed in private homes. And this interaction that makes this into one community, into one SummerFest family, is a magical and wonderful thing, which actually releases the artists who come here to lose themselves in music and the performances and the community to a degree that I feel is really not even possible on the normal concert circuit.
SummerFest is the only series that the Jolla Chamber Music Society actually produces. All of the other very successful series that the Jolla Chamber Music Society has, they are presenters. We've got about 300 people working with us right now. Of course, those are many, many volunteers and business partners. But these people, without their financial support and without their donation of services, and then with the majority of them without their donation of time, SummerFest simply would not be able to exist. I want to be able to share with the world what happens in these 3 weeks of August every year. It's extraordinary. So when people are in the concert hall or at the workshop or at the encounter, they get it and they are excited and they understand why SummerFest is so unique and how there's nothing else like it. And what I want to do is let everybody else know.